The Nun is a prequel to the Conjuring franchise. If you're familiar with this franchise, you know this is a horror film. The story is set in 1952 and revolves around a young nun who commits suicide under mysterious circumstances at an abbey in Romania. The Vatican decides to send a Catholic priest and novice nun to investigate the death. Father Burke, played by Demian Bashir, and Sister Irene, played by Thaisa Farmiga, quickly realize they are up against something well beyond their understanding when they encounter the nun. Thaisa Farmiga is the real sister of Vera Farmiga, who plays Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring series. So this was a bit of a curious casting choice. Now, The Nun is meant to be an origin story of sorts. The film takes us back centuries ago when this evil entity was fended off by divine forces. Of course, she is unleashed once again through human folly and now seeks to cross over into our realm. The nun wreaks havoc with the intent to invade all that is good and pure, as any self-respecting foul being is prone to do. You get no points for guessing the religious significance of the demon. The title is a dead giveaway. The Nun is steeped in Catholic imagery, making for impactful visuals. There's nothing more disturbing than a place of worship being defiled by evil. So the film goes right ahead and capitalizes on that as much as possible. The unsettling atmosphere forms the strongest aspect of this film. Graveyards are spooky enough by mere existence, and the dark interiors of sprawling castles equipped with murky spaces add to that setting. The background score is garishly gruesome, signaling dangers lurking around the corner and with every scene. The problem is that the film begins to use this as a template that becomes predictable and stale pretty quickly. You know there's something spooky lurking around because the camera movement and the background score is pretty much telling you there is. Granted, there were a couple of times when I was caught off guard, but then that surge died because the film goes back to the standard template. It becomes evident that the scares will quickly run dry because the script and screenplay are devoid of a genuinely fearful threat. The story is conveyed in the form of theological exposition that might appear substantial at first, but is pretty much the same formula explored many times before in this genre. That's all right as long as there's something new and inventive being offered, but it's hard to find here. To make matters worse, the lead characters are devoid of any personality beyond their mission at hand. The lead pair, Demian Bashir and Thaisa Farmiga, are committed enough to give all they can muster. At first, I was skeptical by the casting choice to have Vera Farmiga's sister in this role, but Thaisa Farmiga can hold her own for sure. It's sad there's so little for her and Demian Bashir to do other than spew some exposition and keep falling into the same traps repeatedly. Most of the blame lies in the screenplay's non-existent logic, as the movie's primary purpose seems to drive one jump scare after the next. Sure, the first few appearances of the so-called nun are disturbing, but her presence soon becomes endurable because there's not much else to her. She might be terrifying to look at, but that shock value has diminishing returns. The film's tonality is also at jeopardy with some ill-timed and misfiring humor, courtesy of a French-Canadian who has inexplicably settled in Romania. Don't ask too many questions, just go with it. I suppose that's what the movie ends up doing. It's something you go along with if you're a fan of the Conjuring franchise and if you're someone who gets scared easily. I'm going with a tentative 3 stars for The Nun. To be honest, I've seen far worse in the horror genre, but you can sense that this film holds a lot more promise than we get. So it is a bit of a letdown for me to see that it follows a standard formula that quickly loses steam. But it is bound to frighten those with a low tolerance to horror, so if you fall in that category, this might just be worth your time. Guys, what are some of the scariest movies you've ever seen? Would you add The Nun to that list? Let me know in the comments below, and keep watching It's Entertainment only on Mirror Now, you first.